extension of our being, and your ability to kind of master how to use that technology to enact your will into the world will determine your success in the next couple of years. Okay? Yeah, this is not working. I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, who am I? I'm a creative automation partner. That means that means I partner with people in order to create products, create creativity, create things with in collaboration. And so that's like creative sprints, creative projects. I'm an IRL vibe creator. I'm very big in real life, getting together in real life. One of the groups that we've started, I was a founding member of the Philosophy Club, the Practical Philosophy Club. We're in over 30 countries and 5 continents. And I'm a non-toxic male podcast co-host. So my other podcast hosts are here. We do CTRL+SHIFT. That's a weekly podcast where we talk about stuff like this. And we talk about how to actually participate in the shift that's going on right now.
Davey was on.
Yeah, Damie. Hey, where's Damie? Shout out Damie, yeah. He was on last week. And so was Sid. Yeah. And Sid. Okay. So who are you guys? I see a couple of name tags here. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions to get an idea of who we got in the crowd. How many AI haters do we have here? Be honest. Raise your hands. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It kind of sucks, yeah. How many AI advocates are we here? Who's preaching about AI all the time to their friends? Okay. Yeah. And then how many agnostics? Couldn't care. Take it or leave it. Okay, cool. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and this is where I want you guys to kind of like call and response, right? Just to get an idea of what we think about AI. Because AI is fundamentally participatory, meaning we have a say in how this technology develops. They scraped all of our information to make these models, so it is ours as well, and I think we need to understand that, and I think conversations like this help us understand that. So the first question is, do you think AI agents, by eliminating life's challenges, deprive us from the adversity that shapes our lives and sense of purpose? Does anybody agree with that statement? That getting rid of the toughness of life will rob us from meaning? I see a couple of hands. Yeah? Those who disagree, why do you disagree?
Because you can create your own meaning, even if you don't.
Good answer.
The struggles of yesterday.
Yeah.
Because it'll be real hard when they kill us.
Yeah, exactly. More meaning, exactly.
Not only do you create your own meaning, but also, honestly, challenges just shift.
Yeah.
In fact, usually the better you are, the greater your challenge.
Okay, yeah. Any other, yeah?
Yeah, we just find new problems that are more complex, require more computation, more effort.
Exactly.
We just try to solve more problems.
Yeah, this is actually a very rare thing because most of the world outside of this room believes that there's a limited amount of problems, and once those solved, then we'll all kind of panic and have no meaning. But I think I agree with most of the people in the crowd. There are infinite amount of problems, and it just matters. It honestly matters where you're focusing. And so right now we're focused on the problems we have because of what we have to solve them. If AI emulates human emotions indistinguishably, are we blurring the boundaries between machine and consciousness? Or are we merely projecting our souls onto them? Are we just projecting consciousness onto them? Or do you think that AI is actually, at some point, going to become conscious? Yeah?
I think right now we're projecting, but potentially could be once in the future.
Eventually it gets there? Yeah? Is that the consensus in the room? Yeah. It's kind of getting there? Okay. And then by curating our perceptions, do AI agents redefine our reality, leaving us to question what exists? Like, now that we're curating perceptions, now that AIs are kind of getting more efficient at showing us what we need to see at the right time, are they in charge? Do they take the primary role of agency? And is that a problem? Or do we still have some agency in what we kind of experience in the world? Is anybody, yeah?
We already have no agency in how the world's curated towards us. So these AI agents already...
He's cooking.
Because we need more tools to allow us to control this. Right?
Yeah, okay. So it increases agency. So he's saying that it's fundamentally non-deterministic. Fundamentally deterministic. The world comes at us and we kind of just do what we need to do to live in the world. Dammy.
What's happening on this couch?
I just thought about something. How do I do it? They're like, hey, do step 1 to 50, you get this thing done. So essentially, like, people are using AI to create more agents.
So we're almost creating our own managers, creating our own bosses that are giving us task lists to check off. Is that anybody's experience right now with AI?
I think like different minds almost, like rather than you trying to figure something else out, just ask this AI, figure something else out that like, a lot of people already figured out, and it gives you back an answer that helps you with this thing.
Okay. And that's a fundament. That's losing agency because we're not making our own decisions. It's
No, you're getting more agency.
oh, okay. So I'm kind of. It's hard to gauge you, Dammy.
Allowing you to like take what you thought you couldn't do,
Yeah.
do more of it from there, different managers.
Okay.
Create no programs.
Okay. Yeah. Any fundamental disagreements? Yeah.
I don't know if I disagree, but I think humans are very impressionable, which is why propaganda can work. And I think that there's a possibility for AI to remove our agency by controlling what it is that we think, or at least influencing what it is that we think.
And I'm sure other people with agency can kind of hijack that process as well. That makes sense. Yeah. And then I'll ask one more before we kind of move on. If AI provides flawless companionship, will we abandon the imperfect human connections that define our shared humanity? Are we going there? Are we going to her? Yeah.
If you spend your whole life communicating with something that's non-physical or virtual, then I think it amplifies the value of the physical. And when you find something that works with you, then so like in some cases, yes, maybe in the short term, but then in the really strong cases, like family or really strong partnership, no.
No.
I think it
Okay.
makes those more powerful because they stand out so much more.
Okay. Anybody? Yeah, Dan?
I think AI is like a really fascinating way to study language, right? Like recently, like I've been like, last few months, I've been like, wow, like, isn't it weird how like when I speak, I'm taking like these like vocal whatever, what else it is like, and using that to communicate ideas to other people. And those ideas are formed because we have agreed upon ways of explaining words. But those words allow human beings to do that, right?
Okay.
And like I think language is just like a way for people to understand each other.
Yeah.
AI is using language to help people understand. There are people who are marrying AI.
Yeah. So that's the next point. There are people who are already marrying AI. There's a couple who kind of they're not broken up yet, but the man left for an AI. We're getting to that point. So I think these questions, the point of these questions is to kind of allow you to see that these kind of conversations actually do shift the Overton window of what we're going to build. And so that's just a primer. We're going to get back to this later, but let's move on a little bit. So the overview of this is we're going to go from practical. So we mentioned earlier that I do N8N automations. And so I'll give you a little bit of an insight into how to actually build an AI agent yourself. To the societal, how we think that this might actually change society, given the fact that we can all build AI agents ourselves. And then philosophical, what does that matter? What does it mean in the big picture, the grand scheme of things? Does it change us fundamentally as human beings, or does it change what life is fundamentally? Practical. So practically speaking, an agent or an AI agent is any autonomous software that makes decisions and takes action on your behalf, right? So we are agents of our own being, so we make decisions for the most part in our physical lives. You can also hire people, which is when you essentially get an agency, you're hiring someone to make decisions on your behalf and take action on your behalf. The digital version of that is using an AI essentially in combination with tools to take actions and make decisions on your behalf. So the components of, well, actually before we get there, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. So how did I get into standing in front of you guys talking about AI agents? 2003, I kind of came back home. I was working on a 2023. Came back home. I was working on a startup. Startup didn't go too well, and around this time, ChatGPT dropped, and it kind of re-sparked my interest in tech. And again, at the time, I was working on. I had a friend who was really into astrology, and we were having these philosophical debates about determinism versus non-determinism. Does free will exist? Does it not exist? Right? Astrology kind of has this in-between thing where, you know, there's this idea that a lot of your personality and your life occurrences are kind of pre-prescribed by the configurations of the stars at the time you were born. And at the time, I really didn't subscribe to that. I was more of a free agency, you know, free will type of person, and I still am. I still believe that. But there is that tension there, and so as ChatGPT came out, the first thing that came to my mind were all these questions. And the first thing I wanted to build was an astrology chatbot to see if I could feed my astrology information into this AI and have a conversation with my natal chart. Right? This is the readout that's printed as a result of when you're born. Right? And so I did that, and I almost inadvertently ended up confirming that astrology is real. Astrology is real, guys. It's real. AI told me, right? And so it kind of helped me understand exactly what it was. A fella earlier today was talking about latent space, right? Latent space being this. Where's latent space? Wilford, yeah. He's talking about latent space, and so latent space is this idea that you have this compression of meaning within a simulacrum or a simulation of a thing, right? And astrology is essentially this multi-millennia project where we had a single screen. We all have our individual screens now, these black mirrors that we look down at every day and kind of, you know, make meaning and kind of project meaning from and receive meaning from. But the original black mirror, the black screen, was the sky, right? All of us collectively for millions of years looked up to the sky and projected our dreams into the sky and recorded. And what humans are really good at doing is pattern recognition, right? Recording, understanding rhythms and cycles of time. And so we did that for generations, and we came up with a system that I think was unfairly discarded at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and the Scientific Revolution. But we came up with this really powerful system that helped us understand the quality of time, not just the quantity of time, right? And so this really helped me understand the collective project that was astrology on a deeper level. And that's one thing AI can really do if you kind of like jump in. You get these different perspectives because it will reflect to you back kind of this mind state that you're at when you're talking to it. There's this quote that a man can never walk into a river twice because the man has changed and the river has changed, right? AI is the same thing. It's a non-deterministic system. So every time you talk to it, it'll give you a different answer based on where you're at mentally, right? And so this project was really powerful. I really wish I shipped this project. This is maybe a theme that's coming up. I really wish I shipped this project because someone did ship this project and made a lot of money, and they're still making a ton of money. But this project really kind of like got me thinking about agents and the ability to kind of like decipher information and make actions on your behalf. Next, we got Shiloh. So shortly after that, I joined a hackathon where I had this experience where I wasn't feeling too well. I wanted to join the hackathon, wasn't feeling too well, and I went to the doctor. I went to the doctor to get some blood tests, and I got the blood test back, and the results came back instantly, but the doctor only had availability, I think 2 or 3 weeks after the results came back. And so there's this gap where I had the test results, but I couldn't really decipher it. It was just, if you've ever seen blood tests, it's just kind of these lines with figures, and if you're not, you know, it's just a spell or at that point. And so I, playing with ChatGPT, I threw it into ChatGPT, and it deciphered exactly what was wrong with me. It pulled out, it said, this is wrong with you, this is exactly what's going on, and it kind of just blew my mind. And so for the hackathon, we built this automation that scans your inbox for blood work results and then turns it into a podcast, right? And so this is just so the idea, I'll show you guys the podcast. Wait, there's no sound?
You can mic it.
I'll mic it. While I talk, so you guys can get a reference. Yeah, so the idea here was that you can go from, I don't know if I have it here. I'll just go here. No. Take my word for it. The idea here is that you can go from any input, any universal input to a universal output. And so this agent can do that for your behalf. To do this in the traditional world, you'd have to hire maybe a podcast studio, get some talent, get a doctor or some kind of specialist that understands blood work, transcribe it, get a creative. All of that was just abstracted by having just a little bit of understanding of how to build something that we're gonna teach you here, right? And so that was Shiloh. We again, a little bit of the same problem here. I left it to one of the partners to ship this project. Shipped it in a little bit late. He was living in England. It was a time zone thing. I yelled at him. It's all good. Yeah. And so breaking down the components of an agent. So I've been using this word a lot, agent. You've probably heard it a lot in popular media. But the question is, what exactly is an agent? Some people say it's just an automation, it's just a workflow, it's just a process. But the fundamental difference between a normal automation or normal software is the non-determinism. It's the fact that it's not going to run the same way every single time. And so the brain, is a fundamental part of an agent. So an agent, for me, has 4 parts. It has a brain, which is the large language model that's able to make decisions, to process, to think through what it's doing. It has tools, right? This could be sensory inputs like a camera or a thermometer, or even things that allow it to take action in the world, right? So you could have like a robot body, right? Any type of tool, right? You have instructions. These are your very clear instructions on how that brain should work, right? How that brain should process the information that's coming in. And then you have memory. Memory allows it to understand where it's at in time. It essentially gives it access to time. It can link together the sequences that it's doing in time in order to learn from its mistakes and act accordingly, right? So these are the 4 major components of what an agent is. What's up? Yeah.
So does a thermostat have agency?
No.
Can you explain why?
Why? Okay, that's a good question. A thermostat is just a sensor, right? And you have a thermostat within you, right? And you have a system that kind of detects when there is a fluctuation in the temperature the difference between that thermostat and what you do is that when it's too hot, you can take off your clothes, right? That action in the world makes you an agent, right? Not just a sensor. So that's the fundamental difference there. Any other questions? I should probably ask questions. Any questions? No? All right, we'll keep going. That was a good question, though. So as you're building, actually, let me go back. As you're building these agents, because of this non-deterministic nature, because the thing it does isn't always the same thing every single time, you introduce a problem. And that problem is non-alignment, or the alignment problem. Meaning, you can't really guarantee that you as the principal and the agent are on the same page, right? It's the same, if you've ever hired somebody or if you've ever worked for somebody, you've had the experience where there's an expectation of what is supposed to happen, and then there's the reality. If there's that gap that exists between that expectation and reality is called misalignment. And with AI agents, you can have misalignment. And so for each part of the misalignment, you can kind of go back and kind of tweak these parts to see where that misalignment is coming from, right? Is it the prompt? Maybe you didn't give the right instructions. Maybe you didn't describe it in a way that was clear enough to the agent, right? But if you have a big brain, you actually don't have to describe it as well. It can kind of pick up on the gaps in your description. right? If you have the wrong tools, or you don't, if there aren't no tools and you're telling it to do something, if it can't see the world or feel the temperature, it's gonna be very hard for it to do what you want it to do, right? And same thing with memory. If you don't have the right type of memory, it's unable to kind of understand what it did before or pull the right context in order to do what it needs to do. So this is a really big problem, because as these agents start to take on more and more responsibility, the consequences of misalignment start to be very dire, start to be very dangerous, right? Take, for example, if you have, at some point we will, surgery robots, right? The brain of that robot will be an agent. It will be something that's hopefully trained on millions of surgeries, more surgeries than any doctor has ever trained on ever, right? But if that agent is working on someone's brain and there's a tiny little bit of misalignment, that's a catastrophe. And we're seeing that already with some of these driving agents that we're seeing in the world that get into the car crashes. Right? We're seeing kind of the consequences of this misalignment thing, where the creator, the principal, has an intention, but it's not executed in the way that they would have expected it to. And that causes conflict of interest or stress. Actually, before we move on, I'm going to show you, because I'm going to show you what an agent actually looks like in N8N. All right, we can see?
Yep.
All right, all good. So this is an agent. This is an agent in a platform or system called software called N8N. And N8N allows you to build agents visually, right, rather than through lines of code. And so I'm going to go back here and go back to these 4 components. So we're gonna start with the brain. The brain, again, it's the processor. It's the thing that processes in the information. That brain is right here. This is a software called OpenRouter that allows you to switch in and out of different types of brains. We're all kind of familiar with like ChatGPT. Most of us have used ChatGPT. Well, there's a ton of other providers of these large language models. And OpenRouter allows you to select between them. Some of them have different levels of intelligence. Some of them are more specialized in different ways. Some of them are they just have a good vibe, right? OpenRouter lets you choose between your brains. So that's the brain part right here. Then we have the instructions. This is the prompt. If you've used ChatGPT, then you know how to, you've prompted before. You've talked to an AI, you've told it what to do. Those instructions exist here, right? You can write your instructions right here. And so you can say, actually, do we have an instruction from the crowd of how we want this AI chatbot to react? We'll do some improv here. Any suggestions?
Create an agent that speaks about agents.
Okay. All right.
But it speaks like a pirate.
Okay, I like that. Any one more? Rule of threes.
A female pirate.
Okay. So we'll say you are a female pirate that only speaks about
AI agents, not like spies.
AI agents. Good catch.
Or like MI6 or CIA, nothing like that.
Okay, I would have put that, but that's one of the rules. You don't want to put you don't want to say what not to do, try to say what to do, depending on how smart the agent is, obviously.
Don't think about pink elephants.
Yeah, exactly. Don't think about pink elephants. The first thing you do is think about pink elephants. So it works very similar to our mind. Yeah. Okay, so this is the instruction. We just added an instruction, so that's 2 out of 4. And now this is the memory. So this memory it describes the memory in context window, meaning these are the 5 last messages that it's going to keep the last 5 things that you said in its memory. And then when a new one comes in, it's going to remove the 5th one and then add the new one. So you can increase or decrease that. Yeah, we'll keep it at 5. But it has a memory of 5. That's an easy way to remember it. And then we're going to give it tools. And the only tool we're going to give it, the only thing that's going to And the only thing we're going to give it to kind of interact with the external world is a search tool, Perplexity. Has anybody used Perplexity? Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, shout out Perplexity. And so we gave it a tool. All right, so we're going to ask the agent a question, the female pirate agent a question. What should we ask? We'll just ask what a name. What are you? What are you? So, oh, it happened really quickly. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it happened really quickly.
You have to read it in the pirate voice.
Okay. I'm not going to do that.
Ahoy matey, ye be speaking to a fierce pirate who only talks about the wonders of AI agents. These digital buccaneers sail the vast seas of data, making
Wait,
sense of...
can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right.
Ahoy matey.
I'll just read
ye
it.
be-
Ahoy, matey. Ye be speaking to a fierce pirate who only talks about the wonders of AI agents. These digital buccaneers sail the vast seas of data, making sense of the chaos and charting the courses to treasures untold. Whether it's navigation, complex tasks, or learning new tricks, AI agents be the cleverest crew you'll ever need.
It's a female pirate.
What AI? No. What AI adventures be seeking sailor? So as we see right here, it actually started talking like a pirate. The female thing was a little bit harder to catch in this text window, but let's do a task that requires it to go outside of its brain, right? To use a tool to find something that it doesn't know in its training data. Let's ask it, yeah.
What planet other than Earth has the most treasure?
I don't know if that's okay, we'll try.
Just try, right? Just try.
Okay. We'll ask, maybe gold.
Yeah, cool. That's good.
What planet other than Earth has the most gold? Yeah, it just guessed. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna ask it I'm gonna ask it to use its tools. So in this, you can kind of go back to this. Let me ask it to use its tools. I'm gonna say use your tools. So because it has a context window of 5, it's gonna know what I'm talking about. Tools to search. And it didn't. Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't. Okay, so this is the problem. So what we just wrote is right here is called misalignment. It doesn't know what I'm talking about. It says use your tools. I don't have any tools. That's because in the instructions, I haven't told it that it has tools. It's a very, let me show you. So say you have Perplexity tool. Okay? And then, so this is the process of building an agent. This is what it looks like. Now it's using its tools. Okay, and let's see what the answer is. So over here, you can kind of see what's going on. It's asking Perplexity. And so this is exactly what it's loading into its brain, the last 5 messages. And now it's asking Perplexity, what is an AI agent? And now it is R, gather close. So it gives us this answer. Oh, okay, yeah. So that, I think, got knocked out of the window. So it's only talking about AI agents because it's designed to. Anyway, point being, this is the process. This is kind of the arduous process of building it. But it's not that hard. It's not programming. You're not at a command line kind of typing in, arcane spells into a black screen. It's just dragging and dropping very simple to use UIs, right? Okay, next. Societal impacts. Okay, now that I've shown you how to create an AI agent, you guys aren't the only ones that know that you can create AI agents. People all over the world right now are creating AI agents. We're kind of in a bubble, yeah. This is a very small group of people who actually know about AI and are kind of like interested in the space, but that will not be the case for forever. Every year, more and more people are getting access to these tools and building autonomous agents, just agents that kind of run by themselves and are doing their own thing. The internet is about to be flooded with things just like this. So how does that impact society? So before we know that, so we started with the agricultural age, right? We had domesticated plants, animals. You know, that really changed society because rather than moving around as hunter and gatherers, when we started growing agriculture, we stayed in place, and that changed our morphology, changed the way that our bodies are shaped. Then the industrial age, we domesticated plants. Sorry, I think I double caught. In the industrial age, we took coal out of the ground and we put it into engines, combustion engines, and that really changed the way that the dynamics of labor. Rather than having large amounts of people farming, most people kind of gathered into the cities, and this created this density that we have today, where we can fill up a room on a niche subject like this. Now we're moving into the intelligence age, where we have exactly what we discussed, these AI agents that are decision-making and change our cognition ourselves. Does anybody here use ChatGPT as a therapist? Be honest, yeah? Somewhat of a therapist? Do you talk to it when you're bored? Okay. Then, yeah, it's changing your psychology, right? And so some of the things that we can kind of theorize are going to happen are autonomous organizations. So if I can build an agent, that means I can build N+ agents. I can build as many agents as I want, right? And that means I can build whole organizations with agents. So at some point, you're going to ask yourself, what's the point of having the human being at the center, right? What's the point of having that original principle there if you could just kind of you can just kind of set it on a course and it kind of just does what it needs to do and adapts accordingly, right? So this is the idea of autonomous organizations that are kind of existing in the cloud and kind of dipping into the dirt and kind of changing the world accordingly. Good or bad, we don't know. We'll see. I have this idea that the world is going to become re-inspirited. The idea here is that this technology doesn't really feel like technology. It feels human. It kind of attaches to these cognitive hooks that we reserve for human communication. And so if you actually want to get the best out of some of these technologies, it's better actually to talk to them as if they're alive or as if they are agentic and have the ability to kind of dynamically adapt. And so that, in my opinion, that's going to lead into a world where as more objects in the world become these endpoints for these agents to kind of step into, we're going to kind of start to associate these physical objects with spirits, right? You can think of like a medieval peasant going to a temple and kind of like praying for the god of whatever, rain, right? Imagine the same process of going to a temple, prompting to the god of rain, and then an airplane flies over and cloud seeding technology just kind of disperses on the clouds and it starts raining, right? Or mini drones come over and start cloud seeding, right? These mental affordances that we had during the medieval age are going to become a lot more relevant now that we're moving into a re-inspirited world. And then we're going to have billion-dollar solos. I've been calling this is the one-person billion-dollar idea, where very similar to the autonomous organization, but you have somebody whose ideas or someone whose experiences are so specific that they do not exist in particular models, or they have such high agency that they're willing to go into the depths of reality and kind of excavate new ideas to feed to these AI models. AI agents, or the brains that they have at this moment, are really good at generating next tokens or predictive next tokens for things that kind of exist already, or kind of recombining things about the collective human unconscious, as was kind of described earlier, right? And so if you are an individual who's able to excavate outside of that collective unconscious and bring it back into these agents, you have the opportunity, and if you have a high enough agency, you have the opportunity to really amass an army of kind of these agents to essentially distill your information into and kind of act accordingly. And so this will look like almost like in my head I see it as like a queen bee with a swarm of drones that are kind of these clones of that individual. But this could also look like the distillation of information from an individual family member, right? So instead of losing your ancestral memory, you can turn your family tree into these mini models. So ancestors don't become these dead relics that that are remembered through pictures or remembered through autobiographies. They can be these living members or councils that you can call on to kind of help you move into the world. Okay, so these are some pictures of autonomous organizations. I want to show you some cool stuff that I've gathered on the internet. So this is a, I don't know what this tool is called. If anybody knows this tool. And right now it's autonomous. Nobody's in this actual machine right now. So you can zoom in. But it's building a wall, right? This is about a year ago. And this really blew my mind. It really kind of helped me start to imagine what the world we're moving into, where you have machines like this just building 24/7, developing 24/7. You're going from idea to physical reality a lot faster. That gap is shrinking. That latent space between what you think and what actually happens is shrinking precipitously right now. It's going crazy. And then we have things like this. You've probably seen these Unitree bots. This is $5,900, right? So look at that dexterity. How many of you in this room can do that? That's a little creepy. Again. Yeah. Yeah, so again, very creepy. It's like, there's this uncanny feeling that you get when you see something that's not human move in very human ways. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of seed your minds with what already is, right? And so other homes for these, so the way that I think about agents is that they're essentially disembodied brains, and they need to dip into the world to find physical homes in order to make material actions, okay? And so some of the homes will look like robot bodies, some of them will look like that Spot robot dog that you've seen, some of them will look like excavators, others will look like glasses, right? You've probably seen those videos where dudes walk up to girls with the glasses and ask them out, and and they record it. All of those glasses have AI in them. They have the ability to kind of tap and talk to a disembodied intelligence and get reference for what you're seeing, right? And soon they'll have screens on them, and so you'll have full AIs living in these glasses, right? Delivery trucks, drones, drone swarms, right? I'm not even gonna show the video, I don't have time. Right? It's fundamentally vibey. This technology is fundamentally vibey. It is non-deterministic, so we don't know how it works. We were talking to Sid, and he was telling us that even the people who are working at the bottom of this, at the very tip of the sphere, have no idea how this thing works. And this is, again, this comes back to that re-inspirited idea, where these technologies, a lot of this intelligence, we think we're discovering it or constructing it. It's emergent. It's an emergent property of reality. It's everywhere. Intelligence is it's in everything, right? And so this is just another way to kind of restructure the tools around us to channel that intelligence in a particular way. And so again, vibe coding. Everyone's talked about vibe coding because it's vibey. As the approach to these things is play. It's to vibe code, it's to jump in, it's to swim, it's to participate, right? It's not to sit back and prepare until you're ready. It's to jump in and talk to it, figure out how it works. There's no course out there that's gonna teach you how to use AI agents. There's no individual that's gonna give you a curriculum. All of that stuff is over. That's the old world. We're living in a world of pure participation, high agency, trying stuff, building it on the way down, right? And then $1 billion solos. And so the call to action here is to move up the stack. Move up the stack from implementation, that's the bottom, that's all of this stuff we're doing is creation. We're constantly recreating ourselves. Every cell in your body is recreating yourself, and they all do on, every 7 years, and most of them are kind of done with that process, but you're constantly going to sleep, waking up, recreating yourself. Every second is a new moment. And so the most basic layer of creation is implementation. It's doing physical labor. It's that bottom layer, and that's still important, right? But the idea here is that if you don't want to kind of compete, because the physical realm is fundamentally, you can't have two things in one place in the physical realm. It's very hard to, right? But if you can't have two things in one place. Whereas in the digital realm, there's infinite space, there's infinite opportunities with ideas in the digital realm. And so the idea here is to move up the space. Don't identify yourself as a task or a repeatable process, as implementation. You are creators, we are all creators, right? And so move up the scale of creativity. And I had some predictions. Quick predictions before I go. I think the internet is going to be filled with AI slop and AI agents. These are some of the considerations we have to have. If everybody can make an agent, everyone can make a chatbot, you're going to be talking to a lot of non-human actors, right? And I think things like this are going to be on a premium. The ability to touch someone and confirm that they're real is going to be the only way to make sure that they are not a catfish, that they're actually who they say they are, right? Because the technology is getting really good. And so I see the proliferation of IRL. IRL is the future, right? Physical, it's the premium. This is where the scarcity is, which means this is where the value is, right? If it's infinite up here, that means it's technically, there's too much for it to kind of be valuable by definition. But if it's limited down here, then this is where the value is. This is where we are, right? Go up stack. So these are some potential jobs. Some of them are jokes. Professional cuddler, right? As we go up the hierarchy of needs, as technology gets better, what it does is it gets better at addressing each hierarchy of need, right? And so the original technologies were handling hunger. That's what agriculture is. That's what domestication of animals are, right? This is what digging up ore from the ground is and turning it into shields, and it's like we're taking care of this part. This is the safety, physiological needs, right? And then we get to love and belonging, right? This is where we start to get books that connect us to ideas and other people and ways of seeing things. And books are kind of the advent of where we get nations and kind of these collective intellectual tribes, religions, things like that. These are technologies that help us with love, belonging, and esteem, right? The esteem, now we have social media and the internet, where you can kind of just brag about who you are and put your highlight reel. That's why the biggest companies in the world are these social media and communication companies, because they provide esteem, right? And so right now what we're seeing with AI is that it's coming for that #1 spot. It's coming for that self-actualization spot. That's why Sam Altman has turned everything towards self-actualization. That's why he's making it this sycophantic glazer, right, that just spits back whatever you're at, whoever you are at you, in order to kind of have this mind meld, right? And this is why the most important thing right now is like this is a very personal journey of self-actualization. And so if I were to wrap up this whole presentation, it's to take the reins, take your agency into your own hand, take your sovereignty back, and build these agents, connect with people, come to Control Shift, and build.